Hi, and in this video I'm going to be showing you the setup menus inside the TX-SR313. So first up is the HDMI input. This is where you make all the relevant selections of the HDMI physical sockets being assigned to the labelled inputs on the front of the unit. An important point to remember is you can only have one HDMI assigned to one input. You can't have the same HDMI socket mapped to more than one input. Next up we have the component inputs. Now there's two assignable component ins on the back of the 313. Now please bear in mind that there is no video upscaling to HDMI. So if you connect anything via component, you're going to need to run out component. The digital audio in is where we assign the optical and the coaxial connections on the back of the 313. You've got two optical and one coaxial. You can use this if, for example, you had a Sky HD box, then you can connect the picture via HDMI, and then you connect your sound for 5.1 via the coaxial or the optical digital output on the back of the Sky box to the input on the back of the 313. And now we need to set up your speakers. So your first option is the configuration. This is where you set the speakers to whether they're large or small, whether you actually have them or not. And you can actually set the crossover of where the sub will actually start producing bass. The next important section is the speaker distance. Now you need to make sure this is correct so that the TX-SR313 can process the signal to make sure it arrives at the seat position at the correct time. Then lastly, the actual level calibration. Now you need to get hold of a SPL meter, sound pressure level meter. You can get these from electronic shops either online or in store, or alternatively you can actually download some apps which will actually give you the SPL level on your iPhone or Android. The audio adjust menu allows you to manipulate certain parts of the stereo soundtrack, including the width and the image from the center channel. Now the source setup is specific to each and every input actually on the 313. So we have AV sync. You can also rename that particular input. The audio selector is where you actually select where you want the sound to come from, either from the HDMI connection, analog connection, or the digital connection. Now in the hardware setup, you can select whether you want the on-screen display to be on or off. You also have the auto standby feature, and we have the remote ID. Now this is very handy is if you have another remote control that's being used in the room which is interfering with the 313. You can actually change the remote ID and stop the interference. And then finally we actually have the HDMI setup. Now in this menu you can actually select whether you want full RIHD control or only part control. So if we actually switch the HDMI control on the RIHD to off, we can now individually select whether we want HDMI through, the TV out to be on or off, and we can select the automatic lip sync. If by any chance you have any undesired results from using the full HDMI RIHD control, come into this menu, deselect the full control, and then try just engaging certain parts of the CEC or RIHD control to see if that actually cures the problem. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video on the TX-SR313, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.